Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to the US, Quad and Summit of the Future, bilateral meet with President Biden, and much more on the agenda over 3 days. Millions of Sri Lankans are voting under tight security in a presidential election crucial for the island nation's economic recovery after the 2022 crisis. Tens of thousands of people have been told to evacuate the quake-hit Japanese region of Ishikawa as unprecedented rains trigger floods and landslides. And Bangladesh stares at a mammoth target as India declares with a 514-run lead. On day 3 of the Chennai tests, Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant scored tons. Well, first up, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has embarked on a 3-day visit to the United States of America. A meeting with his host, President Joe Biden, is the first item on the PM's agenda on Saturday. Both the leaders are slated to discuss issues of mutual importance as well as those related to global and regional developments. Prime Minister Modi will also attend the annual Quad Summit at Wilmington in Delaware, which will provide him an opportunity to interact with his Australian and Japanese counterparts, along with President Biden, on pressing global issues, the Indo-Pacific and the conflicts in Ukraine as well as the Middle East. The PM will address the Summit of the Future at the UN General Assembly in New York on Monday as well. And in his departure statement, Prime Minister Modi said that the Quad Summit has emerged as a key group of the like-minded countries to work for peace, progress and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. The meeting with President Biden will allow the leaders to review and identify new pathways to further deepen India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership. The PM also said that he was eagerly looking forward to engaging with the Indian diaspora and important American business leaders who are the key stakeholders and provide vibrancy to the unique partnership between the largest and the oldest democracies of the world. Prime Minister Modi added that the Summit of the Future is an opportunity for the global community to chart the road ahead for the betterment of humanity. And the Quad Summit is being hosted by US President Joe Biden in his hometown of Wilmington on Saturday. DD India's Amritpal Singh is in Wilmington, the US state of Delaware. This is the first stop of Prime Minister Modi during his present visit. Let's get you a glimpse of the hosting venue, the excitement of the residents, and what is in store for Prime Minister Modi on day 1 from ground zero.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrives here in the United States on a 3-day visit, his first stop would be Wilmington in Delaware State. He will hold a bilateral meeting with US President Joe Biden, followed by bilateral meetings with his Japanese and Australian counterparts Fumio Kishida and Anthony Albanese. Prime Minister later will participate in the Quad Leaders Summit here. Delaware, in fact, is the home state of President Biden. It's a state where President grew up. In fact, President Biden has chosen this school called Archmere Academy, which is a private school on the suburbs of Wilmington, where President Biden studied.
This is really awesome because this is where President Biden studied, and now such a big thing is happening here. So I'm really excited for what's going to happen.
It's a big honor. It's like really a big deal to be at the same school that the President of the United States of America went to.
It gives me a lot of pride and honor that my school is chosen.
The 4th in-person Quad Summit will review the progress achieved by the grouping over the past 1 year and set the agenda for the year ahead to assist the countries in the Indo-Pacific to meet their developmental goals and aspirations. They will also be looking at areas of cooperation in areas like maritime security, high-quality infrastructure, critical and emerging technologies, cyber security, health security, natural disaster response, and climate and clean energy. The leaders will also be addressing a small event called the Cancer Moonshot event here, where they'll be speaking about what their respective governments have done in their terms to deal with the scourge of cancer. In fact, President Biden is hosting this meeting here in his school to give it a personal touch, as this will be his last meeting, in fact, both for him and for Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, as they are hanging their spurs later this year. With cameraman Kuldeep Sharma, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in Wilmington, Delaware.
Let's now take you across live to New York, where we've got DD India Shubhendu Ghosh joining us. Well, hello to you, Shubhendu. Now, whenever Prime Minister Modi visits the US, his trips are action-packed, both bilaterally and multilaterally, as well as in terms of a Diaspora Connect. Is that the case this time around as well?
Absolutely, Gautam. Good morning to you from the Big Apple, from New York. It's early morning here, about 9.5 hour time difference between both of us. It's about 6:30, just past 6:30 a.m. in the morning. Yes, Prime Minister has a packed schedule. There are bilateral, plurilateral and multilateral engagements throughout the 3 days that he is going to be in the United States. As you mentioned in the report, that the moment comes in, first engagement in Delaware, the bilateral engagements with his Quad partners. Then the Quad Summit takes place, wherein they take forward the engagement that has such important implications for the whole of the Indo-Pacific region. We go to day 2 when he connects with some 15,000 Indian diaspora members at the Nassau County Stadium. It is also going to be followed by his engagements with CEOs, business leaders of Indian American origin. And finally, all eyes would be at the United Nations, where Prime Minister would be addressing the summit of the future. So in that sense of varying sizes, he would be engaging and meeting groups from different sections of India-US society and diplomatic ecosystem. Gautam?
All right. Now, Shubhendu, the agenda for both the Quad Summit and the bilateral meet with President Biden seems to be quite result-oriented with tangible outcomes. What can you tell us about these engagements?
They are very, very important engagements, Gautam, and we also see that India-US partnership of the two leading democracies of the world is of great consequences, not just for the two nations bilaterally, but for the region as a whole. They come together in the Indo-Pacific and form the Quad with two other member countries. And that has a bearing for a lot of developing countries, underdeveloped countries of the region, for their security, for their development infrastructure. As far as the bilateral system of engagement is concerned, India and US are very, very important partners for one another. United States and India share a trade volume of about $190 billion. United States is an important leading FDI country for India. India also is an important development and workforce, talented, skilled workforce contributor for the United States. Some 400,000 skilled jobs have been created by India and Indian companies in the United States. So in that sense, it's a win-win partnership, and it is only of becoming as a force of greater good for the both countries that they engage bilaterally and also across so many other important platforms, including the Quad.
Certainly. Now, Shubhendu, the PM's address at the Summit of the Future looks to be a standout engagement as well. Now, what sort of initiatives and ideas could the PM showcase from India, which could also be of relevance to such a gathering?
Well, Gautam, we'll have to look at the context in which this Summit of the Future is taking place. It is taking place precisely because promises made by the international community collectively, whereas sustainable development is concerned, where climate mitigation is concerned, where ensuring global peace and development is concerned, have not been met. Whether we talk about Paris Climate Pact, whether we talk about regional conflicts going on in Ukraine and Gaza, there's been no lasting solution that has been achieved, and therefore it is a sort of alarm bell that world leaders must attend to, and they must come together to realign, reorient their approach to these developments. And in that sense, India has walked the talk when we talk about climate mitigation. It has been a voice demanding peace and resolution of conflicts in various contexts. So it is a voice that is leading the idea of a sustainably developed world that sort of works together, that learns to coexist together. So in all these aspects, what Prime Minister says at the United Nations to the world leaders would be of great consequence. And it will be an important correction point also for the international community to decide what are the steps and what is the direction they're going to take next to ensure a sustainable future that they all had committed to their respective nations.
All right, Shubhendu, thank you so much for joining us from New York. Now, addressing Summit of the Future at the United Nations in the presence of leaders from member countries is one of the major agendas of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. Now, India's permanent representative to the UN, P. Harish, explains the importance of the summit and India's role in helping nations of the Global South meet the challenges of the future.
The focus has been, what can we do to reboot the multilateral system, to make it fit for purpose to deliver development to the world's majority. I think with this in mind, the Summit of the Future process had begun, and India actively participated along with all other nations in this process. What can we do to achieve sustainable development goals, have an SDG stimulus so that we can try to reach our Agenda 2030 objectives? What is it we can do more to contribute to achieving our goals on climate change? What is it that we could do in the digital arena to leapfrog development and give a leg up to countries in the Global South so that they can cover the distance that they could not all these years? What more we can do to transforming global governance, to ensuring that the institutions are fit for purpose for this new era? And most importantly, it is about the youth of the world. India is able to provide all the necessities for its people. When India is able to harness science and technology, digital platforms and digital public goods for 1.4 billion people, when India is able to ensure food security, energy security, and develop new paradigms of development, and be a model and make these available to our friends and partners in the Global South, I think that makes a huge impact, and that is the true importance of India. And when Prime Minister comes, I think his message would be the example that he has set India on this development process.
Now, as the United Nations holds the Summit of the Future at its headquarters in New York, one of the pillars of the summit is the science, technology and innovation sector, where the UN will try and achieve a digital global compact to use technology for humanity equitably. Listen in to 6-year-old Ranveer Singh Sachdeva, the youngest participant at the UNGA Summit of the Future.
As the United Nations holds the Summit of the Future here at the UN headquarters, one of the pillars of the summit is science and technology and innovation, where the UN will try and achieve a global digital compact to use technology for humanity equitably, to have youth participate in it. I have with me one kid who's not even a youth, he's just a 6-year-old child, Ranveer Sachdeva, who's traveled all the way from Delhi here in New York to participate in the Summit of the Future. He's written a book on AI. Ranveer, thank you very much for speaking to us. First of all, tell us, why are you here?
So I'm here traveling from India to, and I'm the world's youngest participant in the Summit of the Future, which is a part of the UN General Assembly. It mainly targets on how youth can impact the AI world for world peace. So I'm here to attend the Summit of the Future.
Okay. You're not even youth technically. You are just a child right now, a 6-year-old child. What grade do you study in?
I'm studying in third grade.
Okay. So how do you think as a child AI affects you or the other children of the world?
So AI affects us in many different ways.
Okay.
I've always said that our generation was born with AI because AI is all around us. Alexa, right from your conversation with Alexa and Siri, to YouTube and Netflix suggesting you more songs and videos you like to watch. It's all AI.
Okay. And I understand you've written a book. What is the name of the book?
Are you born with AI?
Okay. And you say you are born with AI?
Yeah. Because, it's all around us.
Okay, great. So as Ranveer Sachdeva says, AI is all around us, but more importantly, he's here as the youngest participant here in the Summit of the Future. Well, if this is the future, then it looks bright. With cameraman Sumit Naudiyal, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India at the UN headquarters in New York.
Well, India is set to shine at the Summit of the Future through its youngest participant as well. Now, in 1993, the US State Department and the American Council of Young Political Leaders invited a young Indian politician to a special program starting from Washington, D.C. Now, starting the 10th of July 1993, Narendra Modi, then a BJP Gujarat Karyakarta, set out on a learning expedition to the US. This visit, which took place between the 10th of July and the 23rd, included a series of meetings set up by the US State Department with political leaders, senior administrative officials, American policymakers and representatives from the trade industry. During his visit, Narendra Modi gained extensive exposure through discussions about American politics, foreign policy and other matters with prominent congresspersons, senators, governors and mayors. In Houston, Prime Minister Modi got the opportunity to tour the Houston Medical Center, which is one of the largest in the world, and made a special visit to the NASA facility at Space Center, Houston. During this trip, he also gained exposure to the country's political ideologies and legislative structure. He also interacted with various local trade, commerce and economic development authorities. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Americans are casting their first in-person votes in a handful of US states, with the presidential contest still over 6 weeks away. Youth-led worldwide climate protests against fossil fuels in New York City ahead of its annual Climate Week.
We are looking at new and emerging dimensions in India's most important strategic partnership with the United States.
From Washington's standpoint, India, I would say, is a rising part of our economic portfolio looking globally. It's now one of our 10 largest trading partners. And again, if any company has got offshore R&D and IT, it's probably coming first to places like Bangalore and Hyderabad. What we've seen just in the last couple of years is a shift away from transfer of technology, of selling things to India, and of exercises, which are all great and they're fundamental, but we are now moving actively into interoperability.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Sri Lankans have been voting on Saturday for their presidential elections. There are 38 candidates that are running for the top post. Over 17 million voters are eligible to vote to elect the 9th executive president. The island nation is holding its first election after the 2022 economic downturn. Special security measures have been implemented with over 60,000 police personnel, special task force and the military deployed throughout the island nation.
Only the thing is we need change. The person who have destroyed our country, we want to bring them out, and they are what they have done the wrong things. We want take those things out and we need a proper person to manage our country.
We have come to vote in the sense hoping that something will turn out better for us, for our future. Because at the moment, the people of Sri Lanka, the middle class especially, are really going through hard times. Even education is so expensive, everything is so expensive.
So people turning up to vote with a whole lot of expectations. Time now to take you across live to Colombo. We've got DD India's Dr. Ahmed Moin Faruqi joining us from there. Well, hello again, Dr. Faruqi. Now, the voting must be wrapping up all over the island nation if it hasn't already. Do you have any consolidated figures for the turnout yet?
Good evening, Gautam, and good evening to all our viewers. As of now, the Election Commission has announced that whosoever was in the queues at the polling stations by 4 p.m. will be allowed to cast their votes. That said, voting has concluded in several of the polling stations where there were no queues that were found. Considering that the voting has just concluded, we do not have the ultimate and the complete turnout figures for the entire island. Hopefully, we should be able to have them in a little while from now as the Election Commission releases the data. But as of now, the data that was available was up till 2 p.m., in which most of the electoral districts have seen a turnout of over 60%, with some even going up to 72%, especially in estate country, the Nuwara Elia district. That said, we'll have to wait for some more time till we get the turnout figures. Gautam.
Okay. Now, Dr. Faruqi, this has been as high stakes an election as can get for all Sri Lankans. It's also been fought more keenly than usual. Now, is the outcome expected to be clear-cut on whether there will be continuity or change?
Gautam, it's a very complicated question that you have asked. There are lots of first things that have happened this time. Usually, what we have seen in the 7 previous elections so far in Sri Lanka is that there used to be a clear-cut direct race between 2 front runners. This time around, it has been a 3-cornered fight, if not 4-cornered, if I also take into consideration SLPP's Namal Rajapaksa. If you ask me the top 3 front runners, it would be incumbent President Ranil Wickremesinghe, SJB leader Sajith Premadasa, and NPP leader Anurakumara Dissanayaka. All 3 have had very strong points to back their campaign. That said, it's a very close fight. And what I've seen and what we have felt so far, and what I've also come across from many experts, is that it's a very difficult election to call as of now, because each of them have their own set of loyal vote base. At the same time, they've also had coalitions, especially the first 2. They have had coalitions with smaller parties that will help them in getting the minority vote as well, the Tamil and the Muslim vote. However, you see, it is a little difficult to call as if it's going to be a clear verdict or not, because the preferential system in Sri Lanka, it allows for a voter to cast a vote in which he can exercise 3 choices, as 1, 2, and 3. In the first round of counting, the first preferences are only taken, and if any candidate gets 50%, that candidate 50% plus 1, that candidate gets declared as the winner. In the absence of any such candidate getting a majority in the first round of counting, the second round of counting would later commence with counting of the second and third preference votes of all the other candidates except for the first 2, and those votes which have been counted will be redistributed among the first 2. Thereafter, the candidate who gets the maximum vote will be declared as the winner. So what we have been told by the Election Commission is that the postal ballots will be counted somewhere in another few minutes' time. They would start the voting, the counting of the postal votes, and we'll get to know the result of the postal ballots by later tonight. Hopefully, thereafter, the ballot papers will be counted, and we should be able to get the final results tomorrow. That is what the Election Commission has said so far. Gautam.
And we'll also get to know the turnout as well, which will again be an indicator of the level of enthusiasm and the sense of seriousness. Perhaps they claim the rule will prevent miscounts, while hand counting of ballots is common in many counties, and in countries including the UK, it's extremely rare in US elections. The rule passed on Friday requires 3 poll workers in each of the state's 6,500 voting precincts to begin counting ballots on election night. That is expected to slow down the counting process and delay results as well, and create room for perhaps more controversy. Now, let's leave it at that. For the moment, U.S. Democratic candidate Kamala Harris has warned of consequences of another Donald Trump presidency at a rally in Wisconsin on Friday. Calling Trump an unserious man, Kamala Harris said that he had no plans on issues that matter to American citizens.
Now, Donald Trump, well, he has a different plan. And in many ways, you've heard me say before, he is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting him back in the White House are extremely serious. Extremely serious. Just Google Project 2025. By the way, can you believe they put that thing in writing? I mean, they put it in writing, they had it bound, and they handed it out. And if you get your hands on it or just Google it, let me tell you, it's a detailed and dangerous blueprint for what he will do if he were elected president again.
Now, ahead of the annual Climate Week NYC, hundreds of campaigners from around the globe participated in a youth-led climate protest against the use of fossil fuels on Friday. The protesters walked over the Brooklyn Bridge in New York, demanding all the world leaders to stop the era of non-renewable energy. The protest was organized by Fridays for Future, a worldwide student movement with an objective to protest and protect the climate.
We really want to amplify the youth voices, make sure that the people who have power see that this is what we care about, that we care about the climate crisis, and this is our future.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. US President Joe Biden says hope for reaching a Gaza ceasefire and hostage exchange deal remains realistic. And India's Environment Minister takes part in the International Coastal Cleanup Day drive at Juhu Beach in Mumbai.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Before we go any further, another look at our top stories. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is en route to the US, Quad and Summit of the Future, bilateral meet with President Biden and much more on the agenda over 3 days. Millions of Sri Lankans are voting under tight security in a presidential election crucial for the island nation's economic recovery after the 2022 crisis. And tens and thousands of people told to evacuate the quake-hit Japanese region of Ishikawa as unprecedented rains trigger floods and landslides. A top Hezbollah commander, Ibrahim Aqil, was killed in an Israeli strike in Beirut on Friday. In fact, Hezbollah has now confirmed that another commander has been killed in the same strike. At least 31 people, including senior operatives in Hezbollah's operations staff and commanders, were killed in the strike on Beirut's southern suburbs. The Hezbollah has confirmed the commander's death, calling him one of its top leaders. The aftermath has left buildings damaged, streets covered with debris, and fallen power lines in the region.
At the time of the strike, Akil and the commanders of the Radwan forces were gathered underground under a residential building in the heart of the Dakhia in Beirut, hiding among Lebanese civilians, using them as human shields.
The United Nations Security Council met on Friday over the pager blasts in Lebanon targeting Hezbollah. The United Nations denounced the detonations of handheld communication devices used by Hezbollah operatives in Lebanon this week, saying that the attack violated international law and could constitute a war crime. The UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has asked for investigation in the circumstances of these explosions and said that international humanitarian law prohibits the use of booby-trap devices in the form of apparently harmless portable objects.
International humanitarian law prohibits the use of booby-trap devices in the form of apparently harmless portable objects which are specifically designed and constructed to contain explosive material. It is a war crime to commit violence intended to spread terror among civilians. I call again for an independent, thorough, and transparent investigation into the circumstances of these explosions. Those who ordered and carried out these attacks must be held to account.
Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has expressed hope for a Gaza ceasefire, insisting that reaching a deal remains realistic. Addressing reporters on Friday, Joe Biden emphasized the need for perseverance, saying, and I quote, "We have to keep at it," end quote. The US President also highlighted the importance of restoring peace along Israel's northern and Lebanon's southern borders.
We're continuing to try to do what we tried from the beginning to make sure that both the people in northern Israel as well as southern Lebanon are able to go back to their homes and go back safely. And the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, our whole team is working in the intelligence community to try to get that done. We're going to keep at it till we get it done, but we've got a way to go.
Now on to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russian forces launched 3 strikes on Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, on Friday that injured 15 people. The attacks targeted 3 separate districts. One guided bomb landed near a hospital, another hit a residential area, and a third struck an open grassy field. Footage showed the devastation and debris left behind. Meanwhile, in southeast of Kharkiv, a Russian strike claimed 2 lives and injured 2 others. The violence extended further south, where in the Kherson region, 1 person was killed by Russian shelling just outside the Ukraine-held city of Kherson, adding to the day's growing toll of destruction and loss. Now, Indonesia has released New Zealand pilot Philip Mertens on Saturday after spending more than 19 months in captivity in Papua. Mertens was held captive by rebels from the West Papua National Liberation Army after he'd landed a small commercial plane in the remote mountainous area of Duga in February last year. After his rescue, the pilot underwent health checkups and a psychological examination and will now be flying to Jakarta.
Well, after 594 days of the capture of him, we've got him free, and I have to say it's an enormous relief, and his family will be absolutely over the moon, I believe. And also we want to thank the media for unusually not saying a thing on the critical months and months and months of work, so that we in the end have been successful. So he's in Timika in Papua right now, but he's off to Jakarta very, very soon to be reunited with his family.
India's Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal co-chaired the 21st ASEAN-India Economic Ministers meeting in Laos's capital, Vientiane. The event saw participation by representatives from 10 ASEAN countries that discussed progress in the ASEAN-India Trade in Goods Agreement. The Indian minister highlighted the importance of strengthening trade and investment between India and ASEAN. During his visit, the minister also held a meeting with President of Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia. Both leaders identified ways to resolve trade barriers, improve regulatory frameworks and promote policies to facilitate smoother trade flows in the region. And Piyush Goyal also held bilateral meetings with several ministers and discussed matters of trade and economic partnership with the ASEAN countries. He also interacted with the Indian community in the capital and emphasized how they can contribute to new opportunities for collaboration between India and Laos. India's Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Bhupendra Yadav, participated in the International Coastal Cleanup Day drive and the ongoing Swachhata Hi Seva, or the Cleanliness is Service drive. Now, this is the campaign at Juhu Beach in the western Indian state of Maharashtra's Mumbai city. Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan, Chief Minister Eknath Shinde and others were also present on the occasion. Chief Minister Shinde administered the cleanliness oath to all attendees. The minister, that is the central minister, urged citizens to participate in the cleanliness fortnight and encouraged them to plant at least one tree as part of Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam, or one tree in the mother's name initiative.
हमारे मंत्रालय ने एक गाइडलाइन शुरू करी है जिसमें हम एक वन टाइम फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट भी, अगर कोई रिसाइकिल के लिए अपना छोटा स्टार्टअप एस्टेब्लिश करना चाहता है तो मिनिस्ट्री के द्वारा एक प्रोजेक्ट को शुरू किया गया है। नौजवान इसमें आ सकते हैं, स्थानीय लोग आ सकते हैं और अपने बीच को हरा भरा क्लीन बना सकते हैं, धरती को हरा भरा बना सकते हैं।
Environmental activists and volunteers cleaned up sea coasts in South Indian state of Kerala on Saturday as part of observing International Coastal Cleanup Day. At the Shangumugom beach in Thiruvananthapuram, the National Cadet Corps organized a cleanup drive. The cadets were seen picking up trash lying around the beach. Indian Minister Suresh Gopi also attended the cleanup drive organized by NCC cadets. The International Coastal Cleanup Day is an international event and is celebrated every year on the third Saturday of September as a promise to bring cleanliness and greenery to nature and the environment as a whole. The 7th edition of the Northeast Student Festival is being held in New Delhi under the theme Ek Bharat Shreshtha Bharat. This event is being organized by My Home and is witnessing participants from across all states of Northeast India, where music and dance performances from different student groups are being held throughout the day. The event was organized by India's Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Kiren Rijiju, who spoke about India's unity in its diversity and also how the Modi government's focus on the northeastern states has benefited and changed the face of the northeast region of India. Let's now get to some other stories as well. Now, the Indian government has appointed Air Marshal Amarpreet Singh as the next Chief of Air Staff with effect from the afternoon of the 30th of September. In his long and distinguished service spanning nearly across 40 years, he served in a variety of command, staff, instructional and foreign appointments. The Defence Research and Development Organization, or DRDO, has handed over critical high-altitude sustenance technologies to the Power Grid Corporation of India Limited during an orientation workshop on the 21st of September at the regional headquarters in Jammu. This workshop was organized to prepare employees for high-altitude operations in Ladakh. The value of digital payments in India has surged to 1,669 lakh crore rupees in the first 5 months from April to August of the current financial year. India's Finance Ministry has said that the value of UPI, or Unified Payments Interface, transactions has grown from 1 lakh crore rupees to 200 lakh crore rupees. Additionally, the total transaction value has surged to an impressive 101 lakh crore rupees. Severe weather events continue to ravage communities worldwide as intense rainfall, powerful storms and rising temperatures bring devastating floods and disruption to various regions. From the torrential monsoon rains in Asia and floods in Europe to relentless hurricanes, the globe is witnessing an unprecedented display of nature's fury. Here's a report by DD India's Antara Sinha.
Europe and Asia have been reeling under a spell of torrential rains and floods. Latest to join the panic-stricken regions is Japan. The authorities there have urged thousands to evacuate the quake-hit region of Ishikawa as unprecedented rains have triggered floods and landslides. the Japan Meteorological Agency has issued its highest level of warning for Ishikawa, cautioning of a life-threatening situation. Meanwhile, in South Korea, an 8-meter-deep sinkhole occurred on the road in Busan after heavy rains on Saturday, causing 2 trucks to fall in it. In China, a tornado touched down in Shanghai's Qingpu district, adding to the weather woes brought by Typhoon Pulasan, the 14th typhoon this year. In parts of Europe, there are flash floods that have enveloped the daily lives of people and have affected routine. In London, the White Cross pub sitting on the banks of the Thames River was seen serving food and drinks as customers and waiters moved in knee-deep floodwater. While Hungarians in Budapest had to row to move around town as they braced for peak flooding due to the Danube River's rising levels expected to peak over the weekend.
To be honest with you, we are safe. Our house is in a safe situation, but of course the water level is quite high. So obviously we need to travel, we need to move our kids to school by boat instead of foot or by car. So that's a very interesting situation for our children.
And in Poland, after the widespread floods caused major destruction, the army personnel and civil protection workers were seen removing debris and clearing damaged infrastructure, while medical tents were set up in nearby Nysa to treat the injured. The ever-changing weather conditions are indeed having a dire impact on humans worldwide.
People are traumatized and very demotivated. Some people here have rebuilt their homes, even bought new furniture, and now find themselves in this condition for the 3rd time. It is tough, and there is a lot of discomfort. There is also anger towards those who should be handling these situations. It's a growing anger.
Considering the conditions in Europe, the EU has pledged billions of euros in aid, with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen affirming support for the affected regions and for Asia. Authorities are on a high alert, concerned with the dynamic weather conditions. Antara Sinha for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's public broadcaster Doordarshan promotes millets by coming up with a 13-episode cookery show. An Indian men's team take on United States of America in round 10 of the open section of the Chess Olympiad 2024.
We need to look at waste as a resource. There are many possibilities and opportunities here, starting from the water that we use to brush our teeth in the morning and the shirt on your back.
We are always proposing a hybrid sort of operation where you're blending in technology where it's useful.
This recycling unit helps us to save 30 to 60% of the drinking water, and we were able to prove that it saved not only water but energy too.
Till now, which was considered as a waste, we are now adding value to it, which is increasing the farmers' income. At the same time, it's raw material for a different line of production as well.
I rework materials and use them to make carpets and other items. You could say we're recycling the fabrics.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Atishi has been sworn in as the Chief Minister of India's capital, New Delhi, along with her new Council of Ministers on Saturday. Aam Aadmi Party leader Atishi took the oath of office at a ceremony at Raj Nivas. The new Council of Ministers, Mukesh Kumar Ehlawat, Imran Hussain, Gopal Rai, Kailash Gehlot and Saurabh Bhardwaj also took oath. Atishi is the 3rd woman Chief Minister of Delhi and also the youngest. Campaigning has been gaining momentum in India's Jammu and Kashmir for the assembly elections. Senior BJP leader and Union Minister Amit Shah held a public rally in Mendhar. The minister made strong political attacks on opposing parties during the rally.
इसके बाद जितनी भी लड़ाइयां हुई पाकिस्तान से, हिंदुस्तान का सिपाही बनकर यहां के बासिंदों ने भारत की रक्षा की है। जब 90 के दशक में फारूक अब्दुल्ला साहब की मेहरबानी से आतंकवाद आया, दहशतगर्दी आई, तब भी सीनों पे गोलियां मेरे पहाड़ी और गुर्जर बकरवाल भाइयों ने झेली है.
Now, millets are one of the healthiest options that need more space on the menu. Flavors of Shri Anna, Sehat or Swad Ke Sang, a 13-episode show produced by Doordarshan, promotes millet-based recipes to boost nutrition awareness, and that's been launched at the Global Food Regulator Summit 2024. DD India's Anil Thomas has the details.
A millets recipe show, Flavors of Shri Anna, Sehat or Swad Ke Sang, was launched as a 13-episode series on Doordarshan aimed at promoting millet-based recipes at the Global Food Regulators Summit 2024. 3 renowned chefs from India will showcase to the world 26 recipes with millets in the 13-week program.
We are trying to cover all the states of India. I'm from Rajasthan. So in Rajasthan, usually we use bajra and jowar. So I am keeping that in mind. I'll putting these recipes which include bajra and the jowar. Other chefs are doing their respective recipes which include like ragi and banyan millet and other millets also. That would be a great show.
This initiative seeks to boost nutrition awareness and highlight the healthy benefits and versatility of millets in everyday cooking.
I'm so happy actually. I was looking that people want to do something on millets. It is new for them, but they don't know how to cook. And these all 26 recipes are going to be very, very from
Indian states and union territories that excelled in the State Food Safety Index felt that millets or Shri Anna, which began as a poor man's grain, has today gained importance, and the benefits of millets are being highlighted everywhere, and this program will benefit all.
We are very much excited because in Gujarat also we have a lot of tribal area and tribal districts, and they are producing a lot of millets. Ragi hai, banti hai, bajri hai. So I think we are very much excited to learn and see this upcoming series of the Doordarshan. Yeah.
The new cookery show will present millets from farm to plate. The recipe showcased will be now part of numerous acclaimed hotel chains and students from several hospitality as well as culinary institutes. With a selection of millet-based dishes, a fusion-based approach to the platter helps reconnect our daily meals to the roots of our traditional cuisine. Anil Thomas, DD India, New Delhi.
I don't know about you, but I could do with a millet snack right now. Time now to get to some sports as well. Now, Bangladesh need another 357 runs to win the first test match against India in Chennai. At the end of day 3, Bangladesh were at 158 runs with a loss of 4 wickets as early stumps had been taken due to bad light. The play was initially stopped despite India's skipper Rohit Sharma's request of continuing with spin. However, the players were asked to leave the field by the umpires, who eventually decided that a resumption wasn't possible. Earlier, Shubman Gill and Rishabh Pant's stunts helped India set a target of 515 runs, giving Bangladesh a huge mountain to climb to win the test in Chennai. India declared at 287 for 4 on day 3. Rishabh Pant scored 109 runs, while Shubman Gill slammed 119. Let me now take you across to my colleague Narayan Singh in the newsroom for more on this. Narayan, 357 runs and 2 days to go. Looks like a very tall order for Sri Lanka with already 4 wickets down in their second and final innings.
Gautam, definitely it looks like a Herculean task for the Bangladesh team, considering the fact that the kind of cricket Indian team is playing, and today we witnessed the kind of batting Rishabh Pant displayed. We can say the return to the test cricket after his fatal accident in February 2022, and he scored a century on his comeback. We can say that it was a memorable moment of the day, and also he created many records after scoring this century. He equaled MS Dhoni's record as a wicketkeeper batsman to score 6 test runs, and it is only in 34 innings, and MS Dhoni scored 6 runs in 90 20 innings. So we can say that it's a memorable day for Rishabh Pant and Indian cricket team too. At the inning of Rishabh Pant, we can say that it was full of maturity and aggression too. His first 50 runs came off 88 balls when team needed, we can say, the stability because our top order was faltered, and he scored first 50 in 88 balls, and after that he changed the gears and scored the next 50 we can say, in a quick span of the time. And all in all, a fantastic day for India, and India is in complete control. And tomorrow, when the day 4 will start, India will look to wrap up the things very early.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Narayan. Now, Afghanistan won first ever one-day international series against South Africa thanks to Rashid Khan's brilliant spell and Rahmanullah Gurbaz's stun. After beating South Africa for the first time after 2 days ago, Afghanistan scripted history by defeating South Africa in the second ODI to clinch the series. Afghanistan thrashed South Africa by 177 runs, which is the biggest ODI win for the team by runs. Rahmanullah Gurbaz's 105 made him the first Afghan man to hit 7 ODI hundreds. Afghanistan put 311 for 4 on the board, while South Africa got bundled out for 134 runs, courtesy spectacular bowling by Rashid Khan, who took 5 wickets, and Naglea Kharote, who bagged 4. Afghanistan will now look to whitewash South Africa and sweep the series clean in the final ODI on Sunday. Now, India men's chess team will face the US in round 10 of the Chess Olympiad on Saturday. On Friday, India's winning streak came to a halt as defending champions Uzbekistan held the team to a 2-2 draw in the 9th round in Budapest. D. Gukesh, R. Pragnananda, Arjun Erigaisi and Vidit Gujarati all drew their respective games, keeping India at the top of the points table. Gukesh held world number 6 Nodirbek Abdusatorov to a 3-fold repetition draw, while Vidit and Jakhongir Vakidov finished their match in a quick draw. Despite early pressure, Pragnananda managed to draw against Javokhir Sindarov. 1,200 soldiers of the Indian and US Army conducted a mega joint military drill in the deserts of Rajasthan. The 20th edition of India-USA Joint Military Exercise Yudh Abhyas 2024 was held at Foreign Training Node in Mahajan Field Firing Ranges, Rajasthan. The Indian Army contingent, comprising 600 personnel, is being represented by a battalion of the Rajput Regiment along with personnel from other arms and services. The US contingent, comprising similar strength, was represented by troops of the 124 Battalion of the Alaska-based 11th Airborne Division of the US Army. The joint military exercise that commenced on the 9th of September concluded on Saturday. This year, the focus has been on operations in a semi-desert environment. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For all those on the go, you can get all the latest news from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. You can scan the QR code on the screen and download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.